Good evening, everyone. Before we begin tonight, I want to ask you a simple question. How do you talk to yourself before you sleep? Do you go to bed with peace or with pressure? Do you sleep with calmness or with chaos? You see, the conversations we have with ourselves, especially at night, shape our tomorrow. They shape how we see ourselves, how we feel when we wake up, and ultimately how we live our lives. So tonight, I want to share something deeply personal, yet universal. These are 3 sentences, 3 affirmations, 3 truths. If you say them to yourself every night before sleeping, I promise not only will you sleep better, you'll start to live better. Let's begin with the first one. Say it with me. I am strong and I can achieve what I want to achieve. This is not just a statement. It's a declaration of self-belief in a world that constantly makes you doubt yourself. We live in a time where comparison is constant. We see others on social media, on stage, on screens, achieving, performing, succeeding, and somewhere in all that noise, we start to feel small. We question our journey, our strength, our worth. But I want you to stop. Take a breath and remind yourself you are strong. Think of every hardship you've overcome, heartbreaks, failures, losses, disappointments. You made it through. Maybe you didn't come out unscarred, but you came out stronger. And if you made it this far, then what's stopping you from going even further? Your dreams are not too big. Your goals are not impossible. The road may be hard, but strength is not the absence of struggle. It's the ability to keep moving forward in spite of it. Remember, strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, like getting out of bed when your heart is heavy, like trying again after failing, like believing in yourself when no one else does. So when you say this to yourself, I am strong and I can achieve what I want to achieve, say it like a warrior. Say it like someone who's fought battles we don't even know about. Because you have, and you're still here. There comes a time in every person's life when they begin to question their own strengths, when the challenges in front of them seem heavier than anything they've carried before, and the path ahead looks longer than the energy they have left to walk it. And it's in those moments when this simple sentence holds unimaginable power. I am strong and I can achieve what I want to achieve, because in a world that constantly demands more from you, that never seems to pause or soften or wait for you to catch your breath, this one truth reminds you of the power that has always been living inside you quietly and patiently waiting to be recognized again. It's easy to forget your strength when life keeps testing you, when one struggle ends only for another to begin, and sometimes you don't even get a chance to fully heal before you're expected to show up. Smile and keep going as if nothing happened, as if your heart isn't carrying the weight of things you've never spoken about. But despite all that, despite the silent storms and the unseen wounds, you're still here. You're still moving forward, even if it's inch by inch. And that alone is proof of how strong you are, even if the world doesn't clap for you, even if no one sees it, even if you don't feel it all the time. Strength isn't about perfection or fearlessness. It's about showing up anyway. Think about all the things you've survived up to this point, the losses you never thought you. Do you recover from the moments when you wanted to give up, but something inside you said just one more step, and you listened? Even when you didn't believe in yourself fully, you still kept going. And that resilience matters more than you know. because it means you're not defined by what's happened to you. You're defined by how you rise from it and how you choose to keep living even when it's hard, even when it hurts, even when it feels like no one notices. Too often we measure strength by external victories, by the trophies or the praise or the applause. But real strength is in the quiet things, in waking up and facing a day you're afraid of in. Forgiving yourself for past mistakes and standing tall when your heart is heavy and no one knows what it took just to be present today. And if you can do that, then you can do anything, because strength grows when we push through the things that once broke us, when we learn to trust ourselves again after disappointment, when we decide that we are worthy of the dreams we carry, and those dreams, that second half of the affirmation, they matter just as much as your strength. Because what's the point of being strong if you don't believe you're capable of achieving what your heart longs for, what your soul quietly whispers about when the world goes quiet at night? You see, we often talk ourselves out of our own potential, not because we aren't capable, but because somewhere along the way someone told us we weren't good enough, or that we were dreaming too big, or that we didn't have what it takes, and we believed them. But let's tell a new story now. Let's write a new narrative where your strength doesn't just help you survive, but helps you build, where it doesn't just keep you standing, but helps you climb where your dreams aren't. Things you put aside for others' comfort, but things you hold on to tightly because they are yours, and they are real, and they are possible. You don't have to know how everything will work out, you just have to believe that it can and begin from there. Take one step, one action, one decision that honors your future self. And little by little, you'll see that what once felt impossible is just a path you hadn't walked yet. You are strong, not just because of what you've overcome, but because of who you are becoming, and you can achieve what you want, not because everything will be easy, but because you now understand the power of patience, of discipline, of believing in something even when it hasn't fully shown up yet. And most importantly, you understand the power of believing in yourself even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because that's when it counts the most. So tonight, when you say these words, I am strong and I can achieve what I want to achieve, don't just repeat them as empty lines. Don't just say them like a ritual. Say them like a promise. Say them like a truth you're ready to live by. Say them like a seed you're planting in the soil of your heart. Because even if the world tells you otherwise, even if your past tries to hold you back, you deserve to believe in your own power, your own growth, and your own future. And it all starts with this one choice: to believe that you are strong and you are capable, and that whatever you dream, you can create. Now, let's talk about the second affirmation. I am proud of myself, the person I am. Pride in ourselves. It sounds simple, but how many of us truly feel it? We spend our days trying to meet expectations of family, society, social media, even ourselves. We keep running, chasing perfection, and in doing that, we often forget to pause and just appreciate ourselves for who we already are. Being proud of yourself doesn't mean you think you're perfect. It means you acknowledge your journey. It means you've seen your mistakes, your flaws, your fears, and still you choose to love and accept yourself. Take a moment, reflect, look at how far you've come. Have you grown more patient than you were a year ago? Have you become more aware, more responsible, more kind? Then that is progress. That is pride. You don't need a trophy to be proud. You need truth that says, I've been through pain, but I didn't let it define me. Truth that says, I may not be where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. Truth that says, I am trying, and that is enough. Tonight, when you say this to yourself, mean it. I am proud of myself. Because pride doesn't come from perfection, it comes from persistence, it comes from progress, and most of all, it comes from self-love. There's something profoundly healing about being able to look at yourself not with judgment, not with comparison, not with the harsh eyes of someone trying to constantly fix themselves, but with softness and acceptance and pride, and in a world that constantly reminds us of who we're not, what we haven't done, what we haven't become, choosing to say, I am proud of myself, the person I am becomes not just an affirmation, it becomes an act of courage, it becomes an act of self-love and of inner strength. And when you say these words at the end of the day, when the noise has faded and it's just you and your truth, there's a quiet kind of power in being able to recognize your own growth, even when no one else is clapping for you, because pride doesn't always come from accomplishments. You can measure. It doesn't have to look like awards or perfection or a life that fits someone else's version of success. Sometimes pride is found in the smallest things that no one else notices, but you do, because only you know what it took to keep going through that difficult conversation, to stay calm in the middle of chaos, to be kind when you were hurting, to forgive someone who never apologized, to get out of bed when your heart felt heavy and your soul was tired. These are the quiet victories, the ones you carry in your heart, and those are the ones you should be most proud of. So many of us spend our lives chasing worth in the eyes of others, trying to meet standards that were never ours in the first place, always feeling like we're falling short, like we're not enough, like we have to do more, be more, prove more. But somewhere along the way, we forget that being proud of ourselves isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest. It's about recognizing the battles we faced internally and externally, and honoring the way we showed up anyway. If we were scared, even if we were uncertain, even if we made mistakes, because being proud doesn't mean we haven't stumbled. It means we've grown through what we've been through. And it's important to understand that self-pride is not arrogance. It's not about thinking you better than anyone else. It's about knowing that you're better than who you were yesterday. It's about acknowledging your own path, your own pain, your own process, and still choosing to look at yourself with compassion, with admiration, with love. There is something incredibly powerful about looking at your reflection, and instead of seeing flaws or regrets, you see effort, you see growth, you see someone who didn't give up. And that is something to be proud of every single day. Maybe no one saw how hard it was for you to let go of something toxic. Maybe no one knows the guilt you've carried for years, or the healing you've had to do in silence. Maybe no one applauded when you finally set boundaries, or when you stood up for yourself for the first time, or when you chose yourself over pleasing others, but you know you were there for every difficult step you took. And that's why your pride matters more than anyone else's, because you were there when no one else was. You held your own hand through the hardest moments and still kept walking. And if that doesn't deserve recognition, then what does? We spend too much time apologizing for who we are, shrinking ourselves down to fit into spaces that were never meant for us, hiding our pain, our power, our truth, just to make others comfortable. But the truth is, you are not here to make yourself smaller. You are not here to constantly criticize. Your every move or replay, every regret on loop in your mind, you are here to grow, to evolve, to learn, and most of all, to forgive yourself for the things you didn't know how to handle back then, because you are not that same person now. And being proud of who you are now means honoring everything it took to become this version of you, There's a peace that comes from self-pride. It doesn't mean you think you've arrived. It means you acknowledge the road so far, and you respect your journey. You know your own depth. You trust your heart. You believe in the way you love, the way you care, the way you show up for others even when you're breaking inside, and more importantly, the way you finally started to show up for yourself. And that is the kind of pride that changes lives, not in loud declarations, but in quiet confidence, in rooted peace, in knowing that you are whole even when imperfect, and you are worthy even when unfinished. So tonight, as you prepare to rest, let yourself feel it. Don't just say the words, feel them. Let your heart absorb them. I am proud of myself. The person I am, let it melt through the self. Doubt, let it silence the voice that tells you you're not doing enough. Let it hold the little version of you inside who just wanted to feel seen, wanted to feel loved, wanted to feel good enough. Let that version of you finally hear what they've been waiting for all these years, that you are proud of them, that you are proud of you because you've made it through things that would have broken others, and you've kept your heart open even when it was easier to shut down, and you've continued to believe in something better even when the world felt heavy. Finally, let's come to the third affirmation. I have done my best today, and now I deserve rest. This one is powerful. So many of us carry guilt and pressure into our sleep. We replay the day's mistakes. We think about what we didn't do, what we could have done better, what we should have done differently. But here's the truth. You did what you could with what you had in the moment you were in, and that is enough. Rest is not a reward you earn after being perfect all day. Rest is your right. Rest is your fuel for tomorrow. We often forget we're human beings, not machines. And if you keep running without pausing, you'll break, not because you're weak, but because you're not meant to be non-stop. So tonight, take the pressure off, let go of the what-ifs and I-finlys, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and say it. I have done my best today, and now I deserve rest. You do. You deserve to sleep without guilt. Because even trying is enough. There is a certain kind of silence that fills the air at the end of a long day when the world begins to slow down and the rush begins to fade, and your mind slowly moves from the chaos of to-do lists and conversations and unfinished work to the quiet reflection of everything you carried inside you today. And it is in this moment when these words come as both a balm and a permission. Slip, I have done my best today, and now I deserve rest. And though they may seem simple, they are, in truth, a kind of self-kindness that most of us forget to give ourselves, especially when we've been taught to only feel worthy when we are producing, achieving, or proving something to someone, because we live in a world that glorifies constant motion, that equates exhaustion with importance and burnout with success. And in the middle of all this noise, we forget how to pause and acknowledge the quiet efforts we make. Each day, the invisible emotional labor, the choices we make that no one sees, the patience we offer thee, battles we fight internally, and the energy we spend just trying to hold ourselves together. And when you finally reach the end of the day with your body aching or your heart a little tired or your spirit running low, it's easy to feel like you didn't do enough, like you could have tried harder, like maybe someone else would have done more and done it better. But those are the lies your exhaustion tells you. The truth is, you showed up today, and that matters more than anything else, because showing up doesn't always mean being perfect or productive or powerful. Sometimes it means simply making it through when your heart wasn't in. Sometimes it means being kind when you were hurting inside. Sometimes it means choosing to stay when walking away. It felt easier, and other times it means choosing to walk away even when guilt tried to hold you back. And these things don't come with applause or recognition, but they are acts of quiet courage that deserve to be honored because they reflect the strength it takes to be human and to keep trying no matter what. Sada, osik to the ray, and doing your best doesn't mean you did everything right. It means you did what you could with the energy you had, with the knowledge you had, with the emotional and mental bandwidth that was available to you in that moment. And that is enough. It has to be enough, because if we keep waiting to feel worthy only on the days we exceed our own impossible expectations, then we will spend our lives chasing a version of ourselves that doesn't exist, and we will never feel at peace, because we will never feel like we've earned the right to rest. But you do deserve rest, not because you've checked off every item on your list, or because you've impressed everyone around you, or because the day went perfectly, but simply because you are human, and being human is hard, and being emotionally present in a world that often rewards emotional numbness is hard. And waking up each day and choosing to care, to feel, to try again even after disappointment is hard, and yet you did it today. You got through it, and maybe you didn't get everything done, and maybe you were distracted or overwhelmed or a little broken at times, but you made it through. And that is something that deserves to be acknowledged, not dismissed. So when you say, I have done my best today, you are not just forgiving yourself for what didn't get finished. You are validating your experience. You are saying, I see you to your own soul. You are saying, I recognize that you carried what you could, and that is enough. And when you follow it with, and now I deserve rest, you are allowing yourself to be held not by anyone else, but by your own understanding, your own compassion, your own sense of worth that is not conditional upon performance, but rooted in the simple truth that you exist, and therefore you deserve care. Too many people fall asleep each night thinking about everything they didn't do, beating themselves up for every moment they felt tired or disconnected or unproductive. And too few people fall asleep with grace in their hearts, with softness in their thoughts, with pride in the quiet ways they showed up for their life today. But you can change that. Starting tonight, you can choose to end your day with gentleness, not guilt, with recognition, not regret. You can choose to believe that your effort matters even if it doesn't look like anyone else's, that your tired body doesn't need to be punished with more pressure, but soothed with peace. There are moments in life when everything around us begins to blur, when the noise of the world no longer gives us clarity but confusion, when the answers we thought we had no longer fit the questions we are facing. And in those moments, we often turn our gaze upward, not always with words, but with a quiet longing, a silent prayer from the depth of our soul. And though we may call him by different names, God, Ishwar, Allah, Waheguru, or simply the creator, the feeling is universal, the ache to feel held, to feel seen, to feel like there is something beyond this chaos that is both watching and guiding. And in those moments when our own strength seems to fall short, we begin to sense the quiet presence of something greater, something deeper, something eternal that is not bound by form or time or language, but lives within us and all around us like air we cannot see but cannot live without. To believe in God is not always to believe in religion or rituals or temples. It is often something more personal, more private, more intimate. It is the quiet conversation we have with ourselves when no one else understands. It is the moment we cry out in the dark, not expecting a voice but hoping for peace. It is the whisper in our chest that tells us to keep going even when we don't know. How it is the force that brings people back from the edge when logic says there's no reason to survive and faith says hold on one more day. And maybe for some people God is found in scripture and sacred chants, and that too is beautiful. But for others he is found in nature, in the way the sky opens after a storm, or the way a baby smiles as if they've just come from heaven itself, in the silence of a mountain or the rhythm of waves. And whether we see him in light or feel him in the shadows, his presence is real even when it feels distant, created. There are times we ask God for help and feel like nothing changes, but what we often don't realize is that God doesn't always take the storm away. Sometimes he gives us the strength to stand in it. Sometimes the prayer is not answered with a miracle, but with resilience. Sometimes he doesn't move the mountain, but he teaches us how to climb it, and we forget this because we are taught to look for big signs. But God often works in small ways, in the way your breath returns to normal after crying, in the sudden peace that follows a breakdown, and the unexpected smile of a stranger that reminds you that you still matter. And in the deep knowing that even in your loneliness, you are never truly alone. To believe in God is not to escape suffering. It is to find meaning in it, to find purpose in the pain, to know that even your worst days are not wasted. They are woven into something larger, something sacred. And you may not see the full picture yet, but faith is trusting the artist even when you don't understand the painting. And that's not always easy, because we live in a world that demands proof, that values what can be measured and seen and touched. But God is not science or logic. He is presence. He is silence. He is surrender. He is the space between what you planned and what actually happened, and still somehow turned out okay. And maybe that's why we return to him, not because we always understand him, but because deep down we know that there is something in this universe that wants us to heal, that wants us to grow, that whispers yes when everything else says no. And sometimes we are angry with God, and that too is love, because you only rage at something you believe is listening. You only cry out to the sky when you believe someone is on the other side of it. And God is not offended by our brokenness or our questions or even our doubts. He can't handle it all, because he is not fragile, he is not insecure, he does not need perfection to show up. He shows up in our mess, in our confusion, in our humanness, and that is perhaps the greatest miracle, that God chooses to walk with us, not when we have it all together, but precisely when we don't, when we are lost or numb or tired or aching. And he doesn't always speak in words, but in moments, in shifts, in strange coincidences that are actually grace in disguise. And if you've ever felt comfort in the middle of pain, or clarity in the middle of fear, or warmth in the middle of absolute emptiness, then maybe, just maybe, that was him reminding you that he's never left. So tonight, or any night, when you feel unsure, when your heart aches with questions that have no answers, when your strength feels small and your soul feels stretched, speak to him, not with perfect prayers, but with honesty. Tell him what hurts, tell him what you need, or simply sit in silence and say nothing at all. Because even your silence is a prayer when it is soaked in sincerity. And he hears it all, not because you are worthy, but because you are his, and that alone is enough.